Martin Pope from the FCA. Thank you very much for being here with us today at the AI Summit. I just really wanted to ask you first, very broadly, what is the FCA's view on alternative investments and what sort of role should they play in clients' portfolios, if any at all?
We have different objectives. So the two most relevant are that the FCA is obliged to find the appropriate level of protection for consumers. But secondly, we also have an objection to promote competition where that's in the interests of customers. So we've got two relevant objectives here, and we need to strike the right balance and find a proportionate approach. For alternative investments, I guess our key messages, they may be suitable for some people, but probably not for everybody. They're alternative in the sense that the risks may not be standard. There are some different and unusual risks which particularly ordinary investors may not understand. So the key message, I guess, is to take care, and the more alternative the investments, maybe focus it more at high net worth or sophisticated customers.
And for IFAs who do advise on alternatives, what sort of things are you looking for from them if they do make a recommendation to an alternative?
First of all, we'd like to see a lot of due diligence. So due diligence both on the product, so you understand exactly what it is, what legal structure it takes, what the risks are. Some of the risks may be quite different to more mainstream and regulated investments. A number of alternative investments are quite lightly regulated, so there are quite different risks to what a lot of people are aware of. And also awareness of what the customer is and what the customer is looking for. More sophisticated people who have experience of dealing with this type of asset may be best able to accept those risks. And high net worth customers, they can afford specialist advice. They're also less likely to struggle if they lose the investment in full. So it's really marrying the two up and getting the right investments to the right customer. That's also there's variations, different types of assets could be classed as alternative investments. Some of them may be closer to being mainstream. So I think the more esoteric the assets, the more you need to take care.
So the advisor needs to look at the due diligence, they need to look at what's appropriate for the client, and they also need to look at the investment itself and see where it sits on the spectrum of risk within the alternative universe.
I think that's fair, yes. So crowdfunding, for example, may not be quite so esoteric as some of the other assets. An investment in, for example, life settlements requires some quite specific knowledge, some actuarial understanding, really to be able to engage with the risks. But if you're dealing with unlisted securities, that's something that maybe people are more familiar with the risks over.
And we've had a couple of people today make the point that you can take a core satellite approach. So you'll have a core portfolio of sort of plain vanilla investments that we're all very familiar with, and some satellite portfolios of alternative investments. Is that an approach that sort of chimes with what the FCA are looking for?
I think that's certainly helpful. I think it's maybe difficult to find a way of justifying that 100% exposure to any one asset, whatever it is, alternative or not, would ever be suitable. So a core satellite holding approach might be right for the right customers, but there may be some higher risk or esoteric exotic assets which maybe aren't appropriate for retail customers generally.
And for those ordinary retail customers, a few people today have made the point that why should they miss out on the benefits of alternative investments, and why should only high net worth or sophisticated investors be allowed to access those benefits? So thinking about some of the lower risk alternatives, is there a way they could find a way into ordinary retail investors' portfolios?
I think it depends, first of all, what you mean by alternative investments in that heading. Crowdfunding, we are proposing to be much more accessible to ordinary retail investors. If you're talking about something like an unregulated collective investment scheme, we've actually recently consulted on that. What we found is that standards of sales were just so poor that it justified a tougher approach and making it very difficult for ordinary retail customers to get direct exposure to those assets. It is still possible for them to get some exposure via other regulated investments where there are layers of regulation already around them. So they would still be able to get them, but at the moment we've had to be quite restrictive.
And I wanted to pick you up on crowdfunding actually, because you have recently released your proposed new regulations for crowdfunding. Have they been received by the crowdfunding community?
The consultation is still open, so I'd encourage everybody to respond if they would like to. The consultation closes on the 19th. We've had a few responses. I think so far so good. There are some elements that we'll want to review and some changes we'd like to make, but I think the general approach has been accepted.
And picking up again on UCITS and on SIPs, two places where there's been new regulations, as you mentioned, the restrictions on the promotion of UCITS and similar investments, and then there's the proposed new capital adequacy arrangements for SIPs. Once these are all in place, will the FCA will they consider that they've done enough in that area now, or are they going to be circling back and taking another look to make sure things are being done in the way that they want?
I think when it comes to SIPs and to UCITS, it's fair to say they've got an ongoing supervision of the market. We also keep a close eye on it from the point of view of the rules. We already do plan to have a second consultation next year on the subject of the marketing restrictions. There are two specific areas we want to address in that. We'd like to review the high net worth criteria, and we also want to look at whether marketing restrictions should apply to contingent convertible securities. We may also take that opportunity to consider other aspects. So it's very much still on our agenda. We're very interested in it. We could extend the restrictions, or alternatively, if we find that standards are improving, we could already also consider making changes to relax them a bit.
Okay, well that's a very balanced message. And just finally, for any advisors that are here today that are thinking about recommending alternatives and interested in all of the options we've heard today, from property schemes to EIS to crowdfunding, is there a key message for what they should be doing as they recommend alternatives?
I think there's a place for all of them, but it's about making sure that you understand the product before you recommend it, you understand what the risks are, and as well as the benefits, and that it's suitable and you've got your due diligence if something goes wrong.
Excellent. Jason, thank you very much, and we look forward to hearing from you later on today. Thank you.